Hello, I'm Dark Shades and I'm broadcasting out of my home into yours. Welcome to my channel. I tend to, I know it's called Dark Shades Counselling. I don't really consider it a counselling service as much as giving advice, basically, and making suggestions so that to ease the tension and to help you feel better. Today, I wanted to find out what's worrying you and to see what can be done about it, if any. I mean, we only have so much within our control. The rest of it is sometimes it's down to the universe, sometimes it's down to circumstances, but we should only be worrying about what we can control. Because when we worry about things outside our control, that is what makes us ill. That's what makes us have all kinds of uncomfortable symptoms. It's what makes us depressed. It can be the cause of mental illness. It can be the cause of us overeating, overspending. I mean, worry can do so much. And I don't think people realize that. And I know it's easy to say not to worry. And in the Bible, it says worrying won't change a thread of some part of your head. I'm not very good at quoting. I know that they have these phrases, but it won't change a strand of hair on your head by worrying. Anyway, all it's trying to say is that when you worry about something, what can it change when you worry about it? Do you think that if you were in a more um, focused frame of mind, you would feel much better about the situation, regardless of what it is? And don't you find that when you worry, you get really restless, you get palpitations, you get anxious, you get short tempered? So you have to ask yourself, what is the benefit of worrying? I know it's difficult, like I said, but it's all a mind thing. It's what you tell yourself that causes you to worry. I wonder if you know that. I mean, a lot of us do, and we say, "Yeah, it's easier said than done." But when you find yourself in certain circumstances, you can't help thinking about it. Thinking about things and worrying is two different things. You can be in a situation that's uncomfortable, that feels unsafe, that makes you feel vulnerable, and you can think about it and you can be thinking about remedies and resolutions and what can be done. But when you worry about things, it has the implication that you are not doing anything about it. You're just worrying about it. And when you worry, it, like I said, it can be very distracting and it can take you away from making any resolution. So, what are the kind of things that we worry about or people worry about? Social isolation, the loneliness. And it's getting worse when we're hearing drip by drip. It's not even, it's like it's going full speed ahead. At one point, it was every month we were getting changes to legislation. Now we've got changes to legislation last week, we've got changes to legislation this week. It's like it's closing in. You got kind of get that fear that something's happening. Is there going to be another lockdown? Am I going to be socially isolated? Am I going to feel lonely? So there's that kind of thing that's calling anxiety. You've got worry about income and struggling financially, as a lot of people are. It's a time where income is paramount. When you haven't got income, how can you feel safe? How can you pay your bills? So you're bound to be thinking about that and thinking about ways to make money. Poor health and serious illness. That's what I was saying. If you haven't already got an illness, worrying is going to make it worse or bring one on. So, and if you have been diagnosed with an illness, it's really important that you try to relieve any kind of stress. Um, we also have the situation where you can't see your family in hospital, especially the elderly. And I don't understand why hospitals haven't got, in this modern day, they haven't got big screens so that the family can talk to their family members who are in hospital on a big screen. Why isn't that being done? One TV for each hospital room, is that going to cost that much money? just for that peace of mind for families and for those inside hospital who are isolated from their families. Just one big screen. Everybody's designated a time, maybe 20 minutes for one. You have about what, 6 to 8 people in a hospital room. One TV, you can do seven till eight, 8 till 9, 9 till 10, and you can get um, the whole family engaging with whoever's been confined to hospital. And it will ease the tension. They will see their relative and see that they're okay, and their relative will be able to see the family. There's no threat of catching anything. Some people that can't afford to look after pets, when things were going good, it was easy to go and get a vaccination for your animal, or if your animal hurt itself, to go to the vet. But now times are tough. What do you do when you've got animals and you can't afford to feed them because your funds are low? Is that a worry? Also, loss, abandonment, and rejection. It's a time where people are dying. It's a time where people are jumping ship. It's a time where people are feeling rejected in relationships. No hugs and social distancing. It was automatic to hug, to squeeze and each other and have that human to human contact. That's been taken away. That's causing worry. Human contact is so important. No smiles. You've got the mask, so there's nobody smiling at you anymore. If you walk down the street, everybody's masked up. You don't know what they're thinking, what they're doing. And, you can't gauge human expression. That's a worry. And then worrying drains energy when things seem worse. And when you are worrying, things do seem worse. So you have to ask yourself, what have you always wanted to do? You have to give yourself a break from those thoughts. Sometimes these breaks and this change of lifestyle is there to teach us something. And things you never even thought you could do during these times. If you just allow your mind to breathe. If you just distract yourself a little bit. If you just try not to worry about your current situation. And then try to think about what can you do. There's always something if you allow your mind to breathe and allow your mind to think and just have some silent time, some quiet time. The answer is within all of us. So it's very important to open up to someone or something. Like I said, there's diary, journaling, recording. There's also Gestalt therapy. If the person you're angry with has passed on, you can pretend that they're sitting in a chair and shout at them and do all sorts. So if you're not savvy with technology, some people are worried because they need to do everything online and they're not savvy with technology and they just don't know what to do. But I tell you something, your brain is genius. You might think you're too old to learn. You might think you can't do this and you can't do that. You can. If you are interested enough and if you're passionate enough, there's a YouTube video for everything to teach you anything from Word to online, doing something online. You can learn so much. Let me see. Yeah, some people are worried because they're not literate. And you can have difficulty with online. Okay, so you can know how to get online, but what then? Especially if you don't know how to spell or you don't know how to write and you don't know what it says. So what do you do then? So it's compounded, the fact that you can't use a computer, and it's compounded even more by the fact that you're illiterate or have literacy problems. What about those who feel unhappy in a relationship? What can you do to change it? Especially when you're in a situation that is very, very difficult to get out. Is there anything you can do to change it? Is changing your attitude and changing the way you think about the relationship going to make it different? Or is it just simply an abusive relationship? And you should have got out a long time ago and you thought there'd be a time when you could get out. And now it's even made more difficult with what's going on at the moment. So you have to ask yourself, you have to tell yourself that you are not your circumstances. Don't let your circumstances devalue you. Don't let it make you feel worse about who you are and what you're capable of doing. That's the most important thing. You have to separate yourself from your circumstances. Two separate entities. You have to ask yourself, what do I have control over? You have control over something, even if it's control over your breathing. And you just have to breathe. You have control over that. So, try not to let your situation overwhelm you, because if you do, you won't be able to think straight. You won't be able to work out a resolve for your situation. And that goes for anyone, regardless of how dire things seem. There's an answer. It's just that, when you're worrying, you can't see the forest for the trees. You can't think straight. And everything seems so negative. And until you kind of step back and isolate yourself from those negative thoughts and the feeling that everything is against you, you won't be able to find the answer. But the answer is there. The answer, like I said, is within all of us. We all have an answer. And you need to reframe what you think. I'm stuck inside the house. As opposed to, I can use this time productively to do A, B, C, D, and E. You know how times I said, I wish I was at home so I could do some housework. I wish I had more time to do the housework. I'm not even doing the bloody housework. Because I'm too busy thinking about other things. But that's what I mean. When we are given the time to do what we want, I bet there's 101 times you said, I wish I didn't have to work. I wish I could stay at home. I wish I could stay. I'd be doing this and I'd be doing that. Do that then. Don't look at it as a negative, because you don't know how that will increase your financial situation. You don't know how it will increase your abundance. If there's something you really want to do and you can do it from home, don't underestimate yourself, and create some structure. Social media can become so boring after a while, and it's also quite addictive. For some reason, you feel as though you need to respond to everyone, and it's almost like you're being controlled by social media. It's almost like it's dragging you in, and you're trying to think, look, I only want to dedicate 15 minutes to social media, and you find yourself on there for a couple of hours because one train leads to another. One person says something, you feel as though you've got to say something back. Then you see a picture, then you decide to look at the picture, then you decide to comment, then somebody else jumps in, and it's endless. You need to kind of put some structure in your life, especially when you're feeling not as well as you would do. You're not feeling 100%. You might not even be feeling 75%. But the more you feel not up to scratch, the more you need to kind of structure your life. Make sure that you don't watch the news so often. It's so bloody depressing. Make sure that you don't spend too much time on social media. It might be your only company, but still restrict it. Find other things to do. Find other ways to entertain yourself. And there are ways. Solitaire can be quite boring as well, but there are things that you can do. Create some structure. Keep as close to your normal routine as possible, i.e. you get up, you have a shower, you get dressed, you make breakfast, and you have time slots for different things. I have a to-do book. Sometimes, I find that the day goes so fast and I'm thinking, gosh, have I done anything? But when I look at my to-do book, I think, yeah, I've been quite productive. Sometimes if I don't do my to-do book, I feel as though I've wasted my day. But when I write down things, I can think, okay, yes, even if it's that I returned something or that I made a phone call to someone, all of those things can take time. The other day I was calling 3 and I was on the phone to 3 for about maybe 40 minutes to nearly an hour, So things take time. And you can think, I haven't done anything all day. But if you write down what you've done, it can make you feel a bit more productive. And it doesn't make you feel as though you've wasted your day and you feel so useless. It's very, very good to document what you do during the day, regardless of how small it is. I even put on mine that I had some toast and pate, because I know sometimes I get through the day and I think, did I eat anything today? and I can't for the life of me remember what I've eaten. So sometimes you can't even remember what you've done, and it can make you feel worthless. So make sure you document the things you do, regardless of how small. You'd be surprised how much time it takes up, and it gives you a better feeling at the end of the day. Avoid obsessing over news coverage, um, and choose credible websites to look at, and limit the amount of time you spend on them. Keep the environment clean and organized, especially if you have to do homeschooling. Eat at a table. We get to the point where we can't even bother to eat at the table. We put our feet up on the sofa and you've got the plate and you're eating it like that, and you become lazy. And yes, it's okay to do it once in a while as a kind of a little treat, but try to discipline yourself for order and structure. Okay, and especially if you've got children around, because they're watching this, you don't want to um, inflict them with what you're going through. And I know that's a big responsibility. You're going to be saying, oh, I can't even look after myself. I've got to worry about them. They're adding to my problems. And sometimes children do, because you don't want them to know what you're going through. You don't want them to know that you're struggling. But children have a way of making you feel much better, because they're so oblivious, and because you have to pretend that everything's okay. They can actually make you feel better as long as you think of it as a positive. Just look at your children and think, yeah, that I have to, I'm doing this for my children, and it makes me feel better. I don't feel so depressed. Maybe at the end of the day, and they've gone to bed, you're alone with your thoughts. You might think, oh God, what am I going to do next? But just try and think about the things that you can do, the things you do have control over. What else? Start a quarantine ritual. Some people who are in quarantine can be journaling. You can still go for walks. They have something called telehealth. It's a bit like going to your GP or the hospital, and it's T for Tommy, E for electric, L for Lima, E for electric, health. And you can sign up with them, and any kind of problems, instead of going to your doctor or your GP, there's actually somebody online. I haven't used it, so I'm not quite sure, but it's supposed to be the in thing, and it's supposed to be what the doctors are going towards. It is a free service. I'm not quite sure how it's funded or whatever, but you might as well take advantage of it while you can. So that thing is telehealth, and telehealth is the provision of healthcare accessed remotely by means of telecommunications technology. It distributes health-related services and information. It allows for long-distance patient and clinician contact, advice, care, monitoring, etc. You just have an online account. Practitioners sign up for £30 a month, so I don't quite know how it works, whether they get referrals, how they get paid. I really don't know. Always remember the Samaritans. Samaritans are there to help you, to talk about anything, especially if you're feeling really, really down. Always remember the Samaritans. Sometimes people think, oh, I've got no one to talk to, I've got no one to talk to, and they forget that the Samaritans are there just for that purpose. Um, Phone conferences, Zoom, FaceTime. I'm not quite sure why I put that, but yeah, that is phone conferences, Zoom, and FaceTime. That is a way of interacting with other people. It's not the same, there's no human contact, but it's something. And sometimes I've got some colleagues, and my colleagues said, "Oh, Mona, I miss you so much. Can you, we should FaceTime every twice a week. No, every 2 weeks." And I said, "Yeah, we should." Because it's nice to see the faces, because I haven't realised, I haven't seen my colleagues for like 6 months. God knows when I'm going to see them again. And so it is nice, even though you can't muck around and they can't see what shoes, because with my colleagues, we always used to look at each other's shoes, and then I'd say, oh, I'm going to buy them. Where'd you get them from? And she'd say, oh, I got them from Rike, and I'd go on the website, and she'd be looking at what I've got on, and she'd be on the website. And you miss all of that. All those little non-work things that you used to do. So yeah, so going back to telehealth, it's free virtual consultation, Is set up in the UK to link worried patients with healthcare professionals and to step in their homes to ease pressure off of the NHS. Oh, yeah, so healthcare staff will help you through this service to take the pressure off the NHS. So I know we want to see people. It looks like we're going to be doing this online and thing for goodness knows how long. It looks like we're moving away from personal contact, period. And it seems to be extending beyond just online and personal contact into being isolated at home and things like that, and not being able to speak to somebody on the phone. That can be frustrating. You just want to speak to a human being. These bloody machines that say, oh, press 1, press 2, and you still, none of them answers your query. That adds to stress. The other day, I was just wanting to speak to anything, and in the end, I just press sales. The only time you can speak to somebody is if they think you want to buy something. It's absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, I'm here to ease the stress. So this service, so going back to telehealth again, because that's supposed to be really good for you. This service is currently asking volunteers among doctors and specialist nurses, pharmacists, and other healthcare workers who are willing to donate some of their time to keep the system going. So I don't know how successful that's going to be, if it's going to rely on doctors, specialists who are used to getting bucks to donate some time to telehealth. And what kind of motivation are they going to have to give to people who are desperate and anxious if they're not being paid and they're used to being paid? It'll take some really, I guess, if there are doctors who are willing to do this, there'll be some very, very special doctors and very special nurses and health practitioners, and you'll get a high quality service. So hopefully those who do register as volunteers will give you the service that you want. What else? It also supports 111, this telehealth, and it's to take the pressure off of that. And 111, that's the non-emergency health line. So instead of calling 999, which everybody used to inundate for emergencies, you dial 111 for non-emergencies. So we are moving further and further away from human contact. So it's COVID-19 friendly, not human contact friendly. And that's all for now. Bye-bye.